In the past, the U.S. wasn't at all like the U.S. of today. Before, it was much smaller. But they all worked toward one goal, manifest destiny.
This video will show you all the obstacles and hardships they had to face to achieve this big goal.
The Mexican-American War by Tina Wynn, Miranda Shane, and Kailee Sharp.
James Polk was one of the many strong believers in manifest destiny.
Manifest destiny was the belief that it was America's right and duty to spread across the North American continent.
So of course, with Polk being a strong believer, he didn't think Texas and Oregon was quite enough territory. He wanted to expand the United States as far as he could. His next target was California and New Mexico.
These areas were first colonized by Spain, but became Mexican territories when Mexico won its independence. Both of these areas were thinly settled, leading Polk to hope they might be for sale. He sent a representative over to Mexico to try to buy them, but Mexico refused to even see the representative.
Meanwhile, war breaks out in Texas. When Congress voted to annex Texas, relations between Mexico and the United States turned sour. In Mexico's point of view, annexing Texas was like declaring an act of war.
To make things worse, they could not agree on a border. Texas wanted the border to be Rio Grande, while Mexico wanted it to be the Nueces River.
1846. While U.S. troops were patrolling Rio Grande, Mexican soldiers shot and wounded 16 troops. Polk used this as an excuse to declare war.
A few months later, a general was giving orders to occupy New Mexico and continue to California.
They took control of New Mexico easily without even firing a shot. Polk was very happy. Then, when they continued to California, they joined forces with the rebels. Within weeks of all California was under U.S. control.
Taking control of Mexico was more difficult. General Zachary Taylor, with his army of 6,000 U.S. troops, met with General Santa Anna's troops of 20,000 Mexican troops.
1847. The two armies met near Buena Vista after 2 days of hard fighting. When the two armies were worn out, Santa Anna retreated with his remaining forces. The war was over for now.
A month later, the U.S. forces landed at Veracruz. For the next 6 months, the troops fought their way to Mexico's capital, Mexico City.
The Americans met fierce resistance of 1,000 Mexican soldiers and 100 young military cadets. Despite the determined resistance of Mexico, the U.S. troops captured Mexico City and won the war.
1848, Mexico and the United States signed the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The treaty states that Mexico will give up Texas and a region known as the Mexican Cession. This area included the present-day California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico, as well as parts of Colorado and Wyoming.
In return for half of their territory, the United States agreed to pay them $15 million. It also promised to protect the Mexicans living in Texas and the Mexican Secession. In Washington, many senators opposed the treaty, saying that it was unjust and that we only needed taxes, or they would say they wanted even more land. But to most senators, it was a manifest destiny dream come true.
Years later, the United States acquired even more land, called the Gadsden Purchase, for $10 million. They wanted this land because it was pretty flat and made for a good railroad route. It now creates the border of the southwestern United States with Mexico.
So with the many land and territories they gained during these years, they were able to achieve their great dream of manifest destiny.
The end.